So my friends, the last time you saw this engine running, it was bouncing around on my lift, and I was totally out of control. So this time, I put a solenoid on the starter, so you can turn it over with just a button, right? And the reason why it never started right then is because through a fuse to this switch, we put a battery to the coil. There, the battery's to the coil, right? So now it should start. I've got a donor tank through the fuel pump. And that says in there, and that's out, and that goes to the carburetor. It actually says out somewhere on there. Put a muffler on it so I can hear myself think. Isn't that cool, eh? I taped down the keyway so we wouldn't lose it. So the only thing that's not fused, and it should be, is this hot lead that goes through the switch to the solenoid that turns it over. So it's not going to start, but it's fun to turn it over, right? So anyway, 12 volts comes off through the solenoid once it's activated, right? And then it turns the starter, and the starter starts the engine. And then you need a 12 volts from somewhere, and I just took it off of this side of the solenoid. A lot of Fords have this where you wire the trailer from there. Comes through the switch to the solenoid, and the 12 volts activates the solenoid, which causes the starter to get voltage to turn around and around. So that's a pretty cute little test engine now, eh? Much better. Before, my battery was jumping around. I got it tied down, sort of, kinda. It works. She runs like a Swiss watch. So to shut everything off, I turn off the fuel, right? And I think this is turned off. Yes, it is. And that's turned off, and we're ready. So my next thing is to see if I get 12 volts out of this when it's plugged into the engine, so we can charge the battery. Alright my friends, you've seen this engine run. We've got starting capacity, starting ability. This is the diode block. So the 26 volts, 26 to 35 volts comes into this diode block on these two leads here. It also has one more thing in it. It has a voltage regulator. So that whole thing, the output of this is on here. And I've got it. It's on this, it's connected to this red one up to the battery. Believe it or not, this clamp is the 12 volts for the battery, right? I've got 2 meters connected here. I guess we don't need to worry about the second one. We'll take it off, just a little less wiring for you guys to be wondering what the heck is all that for. So now, basically, we have a voltmeter watching the battery, right there. 12.78 volts. But the battery is now connected to the diode block via this yellow lead. It goes into this harness, the only one we're using. This yellow lead goes up to this 12 volt clamp, right? The 12 volt clamp's not being used, but it's connected. I can show you that. Oh, it is up. The meter's on there too. So we're going to watch to see if we can charge this battery. 12.76 volts. So let's just turn her on and start it up. Make sure nothing's... You ready? Oh, this is the fun part, so we'll get you back here. So you saw on high revolutions that it never got up past 14, right? Isn't that fantastic? So one other thing I was going to show you is how much current that's putting out. So just give me 1 minute, and we're going to turn the voltmeter into an ammeter by removing this lead first, plugging that into there, going over to DC amps, and we're going to run through the meter. One moment. So when you're doing a current reading, the current goes through the meter, just like that line shows you right there. When you're taking a voltage reading, you're taking a voltage reading on something, like that. Hard to describe that. So now I'm going to start the engine up, and we're going to see if we are charging the battery on a current basis, right? So we turn it on. Start the engine. So not only do we have an engine that will start on electricity, but we have an engine that will, because the stator, which is inside, this cable comes right out here to this diode block, and this diode block converts the 30 volts AC to 12 volts DC, which is the yellow wire there, comes up through the ammeter and into the battery. And that ammeter was telling us that we're running anywhere between 1 and 10 amps, depending on the current of the engine, right? So that's fantastic. With a smaller tractor battery, it would behave a little bit better, but right now it's trying to charge up that's a car battery, right? So isn't that wonderful? See you later. Alright guys, there's two things. Hi, we're back working on the Kohler. Sorry about that. There's two things that I'm not real thrilled about. I don't know how good the fuel pump is working. And when I just leave the gravity feed onto the carburetor, like the gravity feed from the gas tank, I just disconnected the fuel pump from here to here, from the tank to the inlet of the pump, right? And then from the outlet of the pump to the carburetor, I just disconnected that. So it's just a loop, and it goes. I've seen these gravity fed too, but this one's got a fuel pump. Probably because it was on a tractor, eh? A tractor with a what do you call it? It's got a fuel pump because the tank is too low to gravity feed. There's my words. You're like a little kid. Use your words, Bruce. So now I'm going to take off that side of the fuel supply. And I want to just take that fuel pump off. I've never done one of these on a Kohler, so let's just see if we can just... Oh, it's loose. Now it's going to have a little rod in it, just like... just like on a Chevy fuel pump, or the old mechanical fuel pumps. That's what it is. I really want to take this apart and just see if I can order the diaphragm for 10 bucks. Because the parts on these guys are ridiculous. There it is. Beauty. Okay. Try. And at the same time, we're going to take off the carburetor. And I've already disconnected the governor linkage right here. Right? That's all that is. And that gets a clip just like this one, but a tiny bit smaller. You see how small that clip is? And that goes on the carburetor linkage. So now we've got the fuel pump off. Now we're going to take the carburetor off. And there's a little story behind this carburetor mount, hey? Well, I got to close that door. So let me just get this off, and I'm going to tell you my story. So this 10 by 32 screw was way too long to mount into there. That's a blind hole. So I don't know if you guys have ever, I did this years ago. I don't know if you guys have ever seen these cheap little crimpers for electrical. I don't use this part, I use my WT145. But right there, do you see 1032? Right there? This is a good hint, remember this. When you have a screw that's too long, you thread it into that side. Okay, so you thread your screw into here, and it could stick out the other side, let's say 3/4 of an inch. And you squeeze these, and it cuts off the screw to whatever side you want. See, watch the hole. There we go. The hole closes off, and you can cut a screw. You just take a file to the burred ends, the ends that have a burr on them, and you can cut a screw to any size length you want. And I just happened to cut it the same length as this one. So my old job, I did a lot of that kind of stuff. You're 2 hours out into the middle of nowhere, and you've got a screw that fits, but it won't fit tight, and you don't want to put 6 washers on it and make it look like a dog's breakfast, so you cut the screw. Now we're going to get this carburetor off of here. So this side looks like it's going to come off a little bit easier. Maybe. Hey, I know. Thinner blade. I don't think I need that long a bolt to put that back in there. And there we have a Kohler carburetor. And I believe it's made by Walbro, if I'm not mistaken. I tell you, this old stuff, I know it's not convenient, it's heavy, it's ugly, and but it's got lots of torque. It's got, I bet you there's more than 10 horsepower there. Back over to the bench. Which one do we tear into first? I really want to look into this fuel pump. Online I've seen them. So all that does is do this, eh? There's a little cam inside the engine, and it goes squirt, tight, squirt, 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 squirt. And I bet you the diaphragm inside this fuel pump is questionable. It does pump, but not much. It only pumps good when the tank is above the pump, which doesn't make any sense for us at all. Now, Musty uses the back of a screwdriver to do this. I can't. I have to. I felt it go. There it is. Ah, okay. So it has a throw and a catch. Good. I'm going to put that spring right where it belongs. And we're going to have a look at this pump. I got to be careful because I don't have another one of these. But I think I can order this, just the diaphragm, online. Wouldn't that be ultimately wonderfully cool? Ultimately wonderful cool. Ooh! Could be one of the reasons why it's not pumping. It's full of water. We might be able to wash this one. Now, you guys know I'm tight. I'm frugal. So I use old gas just a little bit for things like this. I hope I got that bookmarked on my computer. I'm just going to go buy the $9 replacement, if that's it. The actual rubber's not that bad. I know, I'm using gas. I'm going to run this through the carb cleaner too, eh? Oh, that's really working. Okay, let's see what this carburetor cleaner does to this old rubber. Oh, look at that. I know I should have gloves on. It might even be reusable once this crud is off of here, eh? I'm just being careful so I don't poke on the edge and puncture that rubber. God, I love the old technology. Okay, that's pretty good for now. I'm gonna just clean this. Beautiful. Okay, that just doesn't get any better. Okay. And the spring. And the bolts. And the other bolts. Fantastic. Hey, it must be a movie producer. But I have to get that. Alright. That was one of those foreign country contacts asking me if I had a problem with my credit card. Good. That's cool. Like I said, back in the day that would have was a rubber gasket, and now it takes a $2,000 computer to control it. I don't know what's better. Alright, that's as far as I'm going to go with the fuel pump for now. And now I'm going to see if I can take this carburetor apart. I believe these have kind of a cupish rubber shaped underneath here, yeah. Okay, that looks fair. Not bad, eh? It's old. I'd like to know what the year of this is. Okay, Ken, you gotta help me. What year is it? It's a good size carburetor. Still has a rubber seal. I'm gonna check the other one. I thought it might be like a Tecumseh where it had a little wire suspending the needle, but it doesn't. Just soften it up a little bit, I guess. Come on, baby. Don't tear me. No, it's got to tear. Son of a gun. Ah, Papa San. Count the threads. Half, 1, half, 2, half, 2.5. There we go, baby. I knew it was going to be something like that. Now I can probably screw this one out. I need a screwdriver with a little more gronk, but I don't like using the ones with the flared, but it might reach it. Yeah, it does. No, that's not going to do it. It's kind of fun tearing apart something new, eh? Now, I still want to get that emulsion tube out of it, if it will come. So this is what this is for. I've used easy outs on these too before. You guys have seen that, right? I don't know if I'm getting it. So I'm going to induce a little heat. Now that might actually, I've got to remember the age of this stuff I'm working on here. Penetrating oil on that, and then we're going to heat it a bit. Alright, this is acetone and transmission fluid, 50-50 mix. And then we're going to light this propane tank. I'm almost out of propane on this tank. Maybe not. Some more heat. No, I'm not going to hesitate to use an easy out on this either, right? Now, is this big screwdriver going to do the trick? Maybe. I thought I had it. Okay, we got to go to plan B. It's fighting me. I want to get it apart. I've done this quite a few times. Is it coming? Okay, if you look in there now, we've got the emulsion tube moving. See that? Now we just got to get it out. So I did all kinds of things. I just kept doing what I was doing. I tried the easy out. I tried more heat. I tried another different flat bladed screwdriver. I haven't used this screwdriver for so long, and it's one of the ones I carved out to be a big jet screwdriver, probably when I had that MTD tractor. So now I want to just get it out. It's like tapping out a hole. Okay, where are we? We're working right here. Once you get these out, you can put a new groove in them. You can do all kinds of stuff. It's just this one's coming a quarter a turn at a time. Don't you love this little vise, guys? I mean, it's given to me by my wife, who got it from her dad, and his name was Gib. And there are a lot of tools around here. You know, when you get a tool, he would have been, let's see, 97 now. But when you get a tool from an old timer, even if you think you're not going to use it, don't throw it away, don't give it away, because those old tools were made for a reason. They were made for quality. A man made a living with them, right? Are you guys getting any of this? Let's just zoom in on you for the final successful withdrawal of the emulsion tube. Are we there? Yes, you guys are getting a first-hand view of this. Now, I probably could have left that emulsion tube in the hole, because the jet, this is a different one, the jet comes up through the other side, kind of like the old updraft Briggs, where you have to make sure you get everything dismantled in the proper sequence or you wreck stuff. I got her. So there we are. She's a little mangled. But I'm going to just take first of all, I'm going to file off the top, and then I'm going to take a real fine hacksaw and cut a new slot in that. Now, to clean out the threads in that, it's the same thread as the mounting bolt, right? Okay, now we're going to clean out the threads on this carburetor. I think it's a fine 3/8 thread. Isn't that a beautiful thing? So I've been investing more money in my tools lately. So when you accomplish a little job like this, it's very, very, very satisfying. So in the old days, 8 years ago, when I didn't have this kind of infrastructure in my shop, I would have left that in there. Good. That's such beautiful. Like, I almost wish I would have been a mechanic earlier in my life, right? I want you to look right there. Isn't that the coolest thing you've ever seen? I love working on new stuff. You know what the nice part about it is? This engine belongs to me. So if I mess something up, it's just a matter of time before I can get the new part. Look at that. That's no Honda emulsion tube. Let's get out of here a little bit. That's no Honda emulsion tube, eh? Look at that. This holes are 1/16 of an inch thick. Oh, I'm so happy. Now, one more thing to do for you guys. Very important. We got the vise here. I'm going to just wrap this in a rag so we don't mark it. I could probably put this in the wooden vise too, right? But I'm just going to re-groove this. This is my favorite file. I always, whenever I see a file, I think of Road King. Okay. Now I'm going to cut just a small groove in this guy to make the screwdriver fit again. And if it doesn't work, I do have a spare. Now let's spray it up. Well, it's not going to win any beauty contests. Now let's just see if it fits back into that carburetor, which has been re-threaded, right? And we're going to use our super cool old jet tool. I don't know how deep it's supposed to go. Choke. Open. It's not in yet. Now let's see how this fits back in there. There we go. You learn something every day, eh? And because it's ancient stuff, we should be able to adjust it. You with me? Almost, eh? Okay, there it's closed. And there's the tip. Wow, okay, so 2.5 turns out. 1, half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. And it's right flush with the jet. Cool! Gosh, I'm just tempted to leave it in there like that, but I don't think so. I don't think I hurt anything. Great. Okay, that's it for today.